Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I'm reviewing the Rolex Explorer II, reference 16570. This watch is from my personal collection. It was purchased used, and I've owned it roughly 14 years at this point. The watch was professionally serviced in 2020. The 16570 was introduced in 1989, and it was replaced with the next reference in 2011. But given the duration of this reference, there are actually feature differences depending on what year the watch was made, but the basic look remains consistent across all years. Depending on when it was built, the 16570 can have tritium, luminova, or superluminova for its lume. The case can have drilled lugs or be no holes. The bracelets can have hollow or solid end links, and the clasps can be pressure or locking. And the movement can either be the 3185 or the 3186. So it's a lot to sort through if you care about the specifics. This Explorer II is an F series, and its serial number indicates it was built in either 2004 or 2005. And the documentation I received is that its first sale was in the summer of 2005. But as I noted, I purchased it used. So other than the change to the 3186 movement, this watch has the 3185 movement. Otherwise, though, this watch has the final versions of everything you'd expect to see in a 16570 Explorer II. So that means it has the solid end links, it has the locking bracelet, it is loomed with the superluminova, and it has no holes in the case for the lugs. So, with all that out of the way, let's take some measurements. All right, let's see if we can measure the case diameter. Getting 39.9. It's supposed to be 40 millimeters, so that's accurate. Let's see about the lug-to-lug. Okay, I'm getting 47.4, and I believe I'd read online it should be about 47 millimeters, so that seems accurate. Let's check the thickness. I don't want to get the Cyclops in that. Getting 12 millimeters, and that's what I had down as expected thickness. So that is accurate. And the lug width should be 20 millimeters. I got 20.1, so that is accurate as well. The Rolex Explorer II offers 100 meters of water resistance. When it comes to the 16570, there is a white dial and a black dial variant, and this obviously is the white dial, aka the polar. There is a loomed marker at each hour position, except for the 3 o'clock position, which is where the date window is located. And as you can see, it has a magnifying cyclops affixed to the crystal, which is something Rolex is associated with. The crystal itself is sapphire. The markings, as you can see, are edged in black, which make them stand out starkly against the polar dial. The same is true for the hands, and you can see that they feature the famed Rolex Mercedes format, but the GMT hand is a red arrow, and that arrow points to various positions around this 24-hour bezel. The bezel is stainless steel, and it is fixed, so you cannot rotate it. Looking more closely at the dial, you can see up at the 12 o'clock position, just beneath the 12 o'clock indice, you can see the coronet for Rolex. You can see then the word Rolex, followed by Oyster Perpetual Date, followed by Explorer II. And if we look towards the bottom, it's a little obfuscated, but the text above the 6 o'clock indice says Superlative Chronometer, and then followed by Officially Certified. All the way down at beneath the 6 o'clock indice is Swiss made. As I noted earlier, this watch is loomed with superluminova, and here I will insert some footage so you can see the lume in action. The watch case itself is stainless steel. The sides are polished, but the lugs and the bezel are brushed. The watch has an oyster bracelet, which is the 3-link stainless steel format. The sides of the bracelet are polished, but the tops have a satin finish. The bracelet wears comfortably, but it does give off a surprisingly cheap vibe, especially if you were to look at the clasp, which is stamped and has these fake link marks pressed into it. As for the crown, We have the coronet logo on the crown like we would expect with Rolex. It is protected with crown guards, and there are 4 positions for the crown. We are currently in position 0. The crown is screwed in, and that means we have our maximum water resistance. If we unscrew the crown, it will pop out into position 1. This is where the watch can be hand wound if desired. In position 2, this is where we can quick set the hour hand. So it's a jumping hour hand. It can go either direction. And if we jump it, the date, as you can see, will also jump with this hour hand. In position 3, we have achieved hacking with the watch. So the second hand is no longer moving. And as you can see, we are able to set the time more specifically. The GMT hand is moving along with the other hands. The date can still be set here as well. And back when we were doing the jump hour, you noticed that the GMT hand was stagnant. There is no quick set date on this watch. The only way to quickly set the date is the not so quick method of jumping the hour hand. Flipping the watch over, you can see a closed case back. As I noted earlier in this video, the movement in this Rolex is the caliber 3185. That movement was introduced by Rolex in 1989. It is an automatic movement with a bidirectional rotor. It beats at 4 hertz. It has 31 joules, and it offers a power reserve of approximately 50 hours. So let's go ahead and check this watch out on the time grapher. Okay, so as you can see from the time grapher in the dial-up position, we're getting a rate of approximately plus 3 seconds per day. I have actually already gone and recorded values on this time grapher from the other 5 positions of the watch. So averaging all 6, I get approximately a gain of 3.2 seconds per day. And I had a range of 0 seconds per day to plus 7 seconds per day. And here is a look at the watch on my 6.75-inch wrist. So what are my overall thoughts on this watch? I'll say the 3 biggest positives are it's quite accurate, it's super legible, and it is comfortable to wear. The 3 biggest negatives, I would say, are the bracelet looks cheap, there's no quick date set, and the current price is pretty high. I've had this watch longer and worn this watch more than the rest of my collection combined. For over a decade, this was the only watch I relied on, and I feel that is a testament to just how good I do think this watch is. The accuracy for a mechanical watch is great. The watch is very easy to read. Its 40mm size wears well for my wrist, and I think the bracelet offers a good fit for me and is quite comfortable. Now that being said, the more modern Rolex bracelets are significantly better, and it's sort of hard to explain why. They feel better, even though this bracelet does feel better than most of the other watch brands bracelets I've ever had. The other big thing is that they don't look as cheap. While it's sort of quaint at this point to see the stamped fake links on the clasp of this watch, I just think that Rolex ever making that decision in the first place, I find extremely odd. I don't know why even back in the day they would have thought that looked good. But thankfully they've moved away from that now, and the current Rolex bracelets are even better than these. But again, it wears really well and it is quite comfortable. It just looks worse than it is. The biggest negative for me is actually the date function. There's no quick set, as I noted, and if this is the only watch you're wearing, that's not going to be a problem. And if you have a watch winder and you do a rotation, that's not going to be a problem. But if you're like me and you don't use winders and you rotate through your collection a lot, keeping this watch's date set is going to be somewhat tedious. Yes, the jumping hour makes it faster than what you might experience with something without it, like a Vostok, for example, but it's still pretty slow, and you're going to really feel it if you're trying to move more than 7 days either direction to get the watch caught back up on the proper date. As great as I think this watch is, today's price just kills it as a reasonable option when there are so many more affordable GMT watches in particular. You have to really love the 16570 to be willing to pay market prices today. At the time of this recording, which is April 2022, watchcharts.com lists the Rolex Explorer II 16570 as having a market average price of roughly $9,900. This watch, when it was made, retailed at about $6,325, and I should note these are all US dollars. And when I bought mine, these were not popular, and I paid approximately $3,500 used. I think this is a great watch at $3,500, and I think it's a decent watch at $6,300, but at $10,000, there's just a lot of horology out there that I think is of better value. But of course, your mileage may vary on that, and if this is a grail watch, then obviously you're going to have to assess whether or not you're willing to go possibly into the 5 figures to acquire one. Thanks for watching this review video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like as it helps the channel out. Subscribe if you'd like to be automatically notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.